we decided that we would seek out the best mentors we could to learn how to grow that living soil first. And with that, our vision has always been a permaculture, a regenerative agricultural farm based in the concepts of permaculture, so that we can honor those who came before us, the wise folks of the native people that were here. And we understand that it was the Piscataway Conoy tribe in this area. And we understand that one of their philosophies was, what I do today is going to impact 7 generations to come. So how can we create sustainability and a regenerative ecosystem on the farm that will still be here and be positive and be nourishing and be healthy for not only the entire ecosystem, including those little microorganisms in the soil, but for the humans who will come after us.
From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health. And now here is our host and producer, Hilda Labrada Gore.
Hey, Hilda here. What would you do if no matter what you tried, you couldn't resolve your chronic health conditions? Our guest today took a chance on some energy work, and she had never heard of such a thing before, and it turned things around for her. And then she became committed to helping to heal not only other people, but the land. This is episode 537, and our guest today is Anna Chaney, the founder, owner, and operator of Honey's Harvest Farm and Harrington on the Bay in Maryland. Anna is also a certified energy healer and a functional nutrition practitioner. Today, Anna tells her story about how she was struggling with many conditions and how she overcame them through energy work, which at first she thought sounded very strange, but then she came to embrace it. Not only that, she talks about how it transformed her way of thinking when it comes to the land. She started taking the long game and looking into how to work with the land in such a way that it would benefit generations to come. She talks about why permaculture is critical to this way of looking at the land and dealing with it, and also how living soil is her first crop. She also talks about the benefits for her family and those around her. Basically, she took a page out of the local indigenous peoples who, in their dealings with the land, keep in mind what the ramifications are of what we're doing today on the next 7 generations down the line. Before we get into the conversation, I want to invite you to the Wise Traditions Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, this October the 17th to the 19th. It is going to be an amazing experience, and it's going to nourish you in every way. How do I know? Because I've been there. You'll get nutritious food, benefits from the amazing speakers, of course, that include like Mark and Sam Bailey, Dr. Andy Kaufman, Dr. Tom Cowan, Leslie Manukian, and more, but also just sitting around the table, eating nourishing food and talking to friends that you've never met before is so nourishing as well. So join us. I hope to see you there. Go to wisetraditions.org to register now. This is Hilda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Welcome to Wise Traditions, Anna.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it's your farm. Thank you for inviting me out to Honey's Harvest. I think this place is so peaceful and so restorative and so healing. I want to hear the backstory on why you created it. I know it has to do with the fact that you had multiple chronic illnesses at the same time. Let's go back to that moment in time. What was it like and what were the illnesses?
Okay. So going back to that time, I was just had a second child. So I had an infant, and I knew because of the level of stress in my life that I needed to take a lot of vitamin C, and I needed to eat as healthily as possible, what I knew at that time to be healthy. So I stopped taking vitamin C in August, and all of a sudden, my entire body began to shut down. I felt aches and pains all over my whole body. I had chronic headaches. I had loss of memory. I had actually severed my rotator cuff and didn't even know it because that's how much pain my entire body was in.
Wait a minute. You were probably, obviously, in the childbearing years, maybe around 34 or so. How is it that you had all these things come on all of a sudden? Like, what the heck?
So nothing really does. This is what I've learned since then. Come on all of a sudden. It's a building. It's almost like a bioaccumulation of stress, a really low energy vibration, lots of toxins being exposed to from the world that I lived in at the time. And all of that together created the perfect environment for whatever was out there that I could take in and become ill.
And tell me again what you were struggling with.
The catalyst that allowed me to learn what was really going on there was Lyme disease. So I had chronic Lyme disease, I had Babesia, another tick-borne illness, I had Bartonella, another tick-borne illness, and Ehrlichia, another tick-borne illness. And then I developed precancerous tumors. I had the loss of memory we think was due to a toxic mold exposure. So I also was diagnosed with mold toxicity.
Oh my gosh. And at the time you had 2 kids, right?
2 kids.
Where did you turn? What did you think you should do about it all? Obviously, you'd gotten some diagnoses. Was it helping you get any closer to real health?
No. So I worked with conventional medicine for 4.5 years, and they finally said, okay, this is it. There's nothing else we can do. I had talked to many doctors up and down the East Coast, actually. And they said, we're going to go ahead and put the PICC line to your heart, and that way you don't have to take those 22 pills a day. So you'll just do that, until whenever. We don't know. It might be for the rest of your life.
PICC line, is that where they intravenously give you meds or what have you?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So I said no.
Oh, you said no.
I said no, thank you. And I thought to myself, I'd rather not be here anymore. And that was 4.5 years in. And I had a third child in the meantime. So we're at August of 2008 now. And I said, there's got to be another way. And
because am I hearing you right? You were like, I can't live like this. You were getting near the end of your rope.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So it's either we don't live anymore or we find another route because this medicine it made me feel horrible. It was up and down constantly and no end in sight.
Yeah.
No real healing.
Yeah.
So that's when I had to try something different.
So what'd you do? I got to find out.
So in my head, thank the Lord, there was this voice that said, energy medicine. And I ignored it. Completely ignored it. I'm like, no, no, and absolutely not. So a whole year, transpired. And so back at 2008, and I said, okay, fine, So I contacted a friend who I knew would know something about this. And she's like, yeah, you go down to this place. And I was like, oh. So I went down to this place.
Wait a minute. I'm wondering, what was it about it that was so off-putting to you? Why were you kind of like, no, thank you to that?
At that time, I felt like, it was so foreign to me and not real. Honestly, I thought that's voodoo. I don't want to have anything to do with that. That can't possibly be a real thing, And, fast forward now, I'm a certified energy healer. So that teaches you a little bit about what actually did wind up happening.
Whoa. Okay. So you decided, I can't say no to this voice anymore. I'm going to check it out. What happened next?
So I went to this lady that my friend recommended. And I remember going in and being really nervous and hiding my car behind the building so that nobody in the area would see that I came to this crazy place. It was August and it was hot and I was in a suit and I was sweating inside an air-conditioned space. And I waited. She came and took me up to her little loft area. And it was kind of a darkish area, small. And there was a massage table. And she said, hi, what are you here for? And I was like, energy medicine? And she said, oh, okay, great. What kind? And I was like, oh my goodness, there's a kind? And I said, what kind do you have? And she handed me a menu. And I was so nervous that I could not read the menu.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Anna.
So there were little icons with like pretty pictures next to each thing. So all I could do was look at the pictures. And I was like, oh, that's pretty. It had a sun and a pretty rainbow and some blue skies. Oh, rainbow medicine. I said, yeah.
You were like suddenly regressed to 3 years old. me want pretty sun and rainbow.
Exactly. Exactly.
But what was that?
So she said, okay, great. That's rainbow medicine. We're going to do an illumination. Okay, fantastic. So she said, just stand over there. And she sat down and I was like, I stand, you sit, I'm the client. Okay. That's all I could think of was, how do I get out of this place? Like, this is crazy. She's going to do something. She said, I'm going to track you. So here I am fully dressed in a suit thinking, I don't know what this lady's going to do. She said, just stand over there and relax. I'm like, yeah, right. So she sits down and I just decided to close my eyes at that point. And she told me to take some deep breaths. And then she started to mumble and write, like I could hear the pen. And she was talking to somebody. And I thought, wow, I have got to figure out how to get out of this place.
Yeah.
And then I finally relaxed. And she went on. And then I started to kind of daydream in my head and I saw these images. I'm like, oh, this is nice. It's like you get to kind of settle down a little bit, ground maybe. And she said, okay, I'm finished. And then she looked at me. Again, I'm standing over there, fully clothed with my suit on. And she said, I think there's something going on with your right shoulder. And I was like, no, I broke that when I was really young. And I said, I was 16. And she's like, I think it's not fully healed. And I said, do you know how old I am? And, lo and behold, when I went to the doctor, it was severed. My rotator cuff was severed on the right side.
And you didn't know that?
I had no idea. That's how much pain my entire body was always
Oh my gosh, that was like a little side thing to you then. You were like, whatever, because I've got other stuff going on.
Nothing.
Whoa.
Yeah. So not only that, but she started to talk about things that I was like, how could she like tap into that? How could she know these things?
Yeah.
So at that point she said, okay, great. Go pick a healing stone out of this little bundle and we're going to do an illumination. Okay. So I laid on the table and, it did some energy work over me. And I was like, I will never do this again. This was crazy.
Yeah.
So I left and thanked her very much, paid the bill.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I was like, I think I feel better. I think something's happening. So I wound up working with her for 6 months. I went back for all my tests and everything was clear. And I felt like $1 million. I felt like I was 20 years old again. And so I did change the way I was eating.
Yes.
And I thought I was so young and had always been so healthy that I didn't really need to listen to all of those guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it was August, I committed to this strange energy stuff and listening to my holistic doctor.
Oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. So I'm wondering, what were the blockages maybe to your energy? Why wasn't it flowing properly? Why were you getting so sick? This, rainbow sunshine treatment or whatever she did, this illumination, what did it uncover besides like the physical? Okay, you have an issue with your shoulder. Yeah. Like, what did it release in you? Do you think,
my
Anna?
gosh, so much. So now that I'm certified in the same teaching that she was taught in, I can see what I didn't understand was happening at the time. So at the time, I just knew I was feeling better. It was some weird stuff she was doing. What I now understand is that with energy work, we're clearing the luminous energy field. And that is basically in all the different cultures of the world, they had some sort of practices that tuned into that energy field, for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And so the teachers that I worked with taught from a variety of different cultures. And so they kind of melded them together to bring in so that each person that is trained as a healer can kind of take it into their own practice in their own style. The goal is still the same. So you're releasing energies that are stuck, and they can be from pretty much anything. We take on energy every day. Mm-hmm. We can be around that heavy energy from a person or an experience or a traumatic event. And as humans, our energy field can allow that in, and we carry that burden with us. And so when an energy healer works with someone, they're trained to tune in and seek out where that heavy energy is most stuck. And we often use the chakra system to locate that. And there are various tools and insights that we can glean from doing the energy work, and then really just inviting that heavy energy to leave. And there are many different practices,
This
techniques.
is so interesting. It's reminding me of 2 interviews I've done. One with Eileen McCusick about kind of our biofield, and she uses tuning forks to kind of reharmonize the body and get rid of stuck energy and help it all flow more. And then the other was with Bradley Nelson, who wrote the Emotion Code and the Body Code. So I think what you're sharing has actually been approached by different practitioners in different ways, but it kind of it brings us to the same place.
Absolutely, 100%. And I always believe that every single person has like their own formula, like today. So whatever my formula is today, it could even change tomorrow. And what I mean by that is the different modalities of healing that are going to serve me in this moment at this time with whatever's going on in my life, whatever toxins I may have been exposed to in the world, and what my body needs to release. So energetic release and physiological release are the two modalities that I practice because they're so helpful for me. And the teaching is passed along for people who decide to imbibe in these practices with us here at Honey's at the farm. And we're so fortunate to be able to kind of layer that in with the nourishing food that's grown in our living soil.
Oh my gosh, I thought I was just coming here to talk to you about your farm. What does your healing journey have to do with where Honey's Harvest Farm is today?
Absolutely. So to me, it brings it like full circle. It's like that 365-degree wheel that we know that health is not only energetic, but it is physiological and it is emotional. And so the physiological part is really all based on our fuel, our energy, and the clarity that's, held or not held within our body, meaning the toxic load, the body burdens. And so what I learned in my healing journey is that food grown in living soil, which is as close as we can get to nature's way, is going to be the most nutrient-dense, nourishing food and medicine that we can have access to, that we can ever, ingest. And so we decided that we would seek out the best mentors we could to learn how to grow that living soil first. And with that, our vision has always been a permaculture, a regenerative agricultural farm based in the concepts of permaculture, so that we can honor those who came before us, the wise folks of the native people that were here. And we understand that it was the Piscataway Conoy tribe in this area. And we understand that one of their philosophies was, what I do today is going to impact 7 generations to come. So how can we create sustainability and a regenerative ecosystem on the farm that will still be here and be positive and be nourishing and be healthy for not only the entire ecosystem, including those little microorganisms in the soil, but for the humans who will come after us?
Do you think this is different than just, let's say, the regenerative agriculture movement? I guess I'm wondering because what you're saying sounds so poetic and so beautiful and so profound. Do you think we understand that when we talk about regenerative ag? Because I think that's part of the point is let's make it so this is good for the soil and good for the animals and good for the people. But are we thinking long term? What do you think?
Well, it's funny because I think that a lot of regenerative farmers are thinking this is the solution that we're all looking for. Because when we have living soil, we know that it helps pull the carbon out of the air. It helps regenerate that into nourishing food. It helps stabilize the soil itself. It actually brings life back into the soil, which stabilizes the soil itself. And then, of course, grows more healthy, food and medicine and trees and shrubs and all the things. And I think they know that it is the solution. Are they thinking 7 generations to come? I don't think I've ever really heard anybody else talk a lot about that. I think there are some. I think they're more in some of the indigenous communities that still hold on to that belief system. And they're very aware of that. And generally speaking, I don't think there's a great awareness for that.
Right. But you're intentionally trying to think that far ahead. Can you tell me a little bit more about the term living soil? Because you've used that a few times. What do you mean by that?
Yes, absolutely.
And how do you develop that?
Yes. Okay. It's not rocket science. And we do workshops here. Yeah. So we send people away with everything they need to start their own living soil. And basically what it is, it's a concept where we create, it's just like in your gut. When you create that perfect environment for your gut microbiome to be like flourishing and with the microbes that you want in your gut, it's the same exact thing in the soil. So you want to create this really perfect blend of carbon and nitrogen in the soil that then brings in the mycelium, the fungus, and the bacteria. And you want kind of the balance between the two. So you're looking for this 50-50 ratio, which is super easy to remember and to understand that you're looking for 50% carbon, 50% nitrogen. You put that together, you get 50% bacteria, you get 50% fungi, and then you create this entire, they call it a soil food web. And so when you have this like really well-rounded environment, then you invite in all of the natural like native bacteria and fungi and nematodes and protozoa and all these little microarthropods, and then you get your earthworms. And it's kind of like the food chain, but just the underground food chain.
Did you see that happen when you started working with that intentionality here on the land?
Yes, 100%. And it's really cool. The best example was probably when my son did this little experiment on his own, and I had no idea he was doing it. So he built a 4x4x4 garden, like cube with like chicken wire.
Yeah.
And then he put in the different carbon and the nitrogen. So horse manure and wood chips. And he just let it sit there. This is how easy it can be. There are many different ways to do this.
Yeah.
So you can do it with a lot more activity and intention, or you can just let it do its thing, kind of like nature. And so we let it sit for about 6-8 months. He planted a singular sweet potato slip into this 4x4 cube. And then at some point I saw this like massive vine thing growing, and I went out there and I was like, hey, what is this? And he told me, and he said, I watered it twice and this is what it did. And then it kept going and going and going. And so and this was after we had taken a soil food web class from Dr. Elaine Ingham, who I highly recommend. There are many other people now that she has trained that also offer the training. We're one of them. And so in October, we got the first frost and we went out to harvest this thing, and it was crazy. So a sweet potato on a conventional sweet potato farm is going to grow anywhere from 4 to 10 pounds of sweet potatoes per plant.
Okay.
So he put a singular sweet potato plant in this living soil experiment.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason that day, friends and cousins started showing up, and it was kind of fun. And we just started to harvest and harvest and harvest. How many pounds do you think we got out of this thing?
Tell me. I don't know.
100 pounds.
Are you kidding me?
From one singular sweet potato slip. And it's all on video. So we have the proof.
100 pounds. Oh my gosh.
We made my son stand with like a big laundry basket and stand on a scale. So we took his weight off, and then we got the actual weight of the
From
potato.
a singular sweet potato plant, where normally in the conventional system, you get 4 to 10 pounds. That is tremendous. And so that was just proof for you that you were on the right track, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure amazing proof for him.
Oh my gosh, he was elated.
And everyone who came around to gather the sweet potatoes with you.
Yeah. So we've practiced that ever since. And we were practicing it already.
Yeah.
And then we just had the confirmation. And we found that, well, we understand from studies done at Rodale Institute and some other folks out in California, and then all these regenerative agricultural farmers who are now doing a lot of research, that these potatoes are more nutrient dense because the soil was alive.
Oh, yes.
And I can make that quick connection for you.
Yes, please do. Please do.
So just like in our gut,
Okay.
when we have the microbiome that's really robust and it's working the way it's supposed to, those little guys, they're literally digesting our food for us and getting it into a form that we can use in our body, in our cells. And so in the soil, those little microarthropods and the bacteria and the fungi, those things are all working together in a food chain where they are literally what's left over. So basically their excrement is bioavailable nutrients loaded for the plant to absorb in a bioavailable form.
Because in nature, nothing is wasted.
Correct.
So their excrement is nourishing the plant.
Correct.
Oh.
And think about if those roots try to get into like the clay and the silt and the kind of crystalline substances in the soil, which is where all those minerals are locked up, the roots can't penetrate that. But the little teeny tiny microbes they eat it. They eat that stuff. And then it's so abundant that they literally poop it out. And now it's in a bioavailable form for those roots to absorb. And then they go all into the plant and nourish whatever parts of the plant that we're going to consume.
This is making me think about that phrase I've heard people say, not you are what you eat, but you are what your body absorbs.
Exactly.
Because your gut back in the day, Anna, was really messed up. I'm sure that was part of the
my gosh, yes.
physical blockages that you had, right?
Absolutely. It was a mess.
So you needed to get it in that place where it could absorb the best of the food you were taking in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the energy work helped you. Coming up, Anna gets specific about the modalities that helped her the most when it came to regaining her health. And she offers more insights on how to create a welcome sign for the ecosystem.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
The New Biology Clinic. Modern healthcare systems are failing us. We can wait for months for an appointment with a doctor or nurse practitioner, only to spend about 10 minutes with them on average, and then to come away with a prescription that could lead to medication dependency or some unwanted interventions, or unpleasant or harmful side effects from things that you really had no plans on taking on, with no real cure in sight. If this sounds all too familiar, consider a different approach. With the New Biology Clinic, founded by Dr. Tom Cowan. He is a respected alternative medicine doctor, author, and speaker. Dr. Cowan's holistic perspective on health and wellness and the true nature of health and disease is what sets this clinic apart. At the New Biology Clinic, it's not about quick fixes. The wellness practitioner takes time to understand your unique story, recognizing that illnesses have various causes and you deserve a personalized healing experience. Clinic members enjoy a flat monthly fee that includes a range of valuable services like virtual health consults as needed, wellness specialist-led live streams on diverse health topics, access to a members-only resource library, and multiple live group sessions every month. And these sessions cover things like fitness, breathing integration, biofield tuning, guided meditation, EFT, tapping, and more. And there are membership options, so you could join as an individual, a small or a large family, sign up for pet health or an enrichment-only plan, and even one-time health consults without a membership commitment. And unlike traditional healthcare that thrives on frequent visits, prescriptions, and treatments, the New Biology Clinic, its motivation is to find the root causes of illness, support your personal healing journey, and to keep you healthy. Visit thenewbiologyclinic.com to learn more, or reach out to their friendly care team via phone or email, and use the code WISETRADITIONS in all caps to get $100 off your activation fee, or try the code WAPF to get a discount on an enrichment services only membership. Codes must be in capital letters. Again, that's thenewbiologyclinic.com to learn more. Again, that's thenewbiologyclinic.com. Use the code WISETRADITIONS in all caps to get $100 off your activation fee, or WAPF to get a discount on your enrichment services only membership. The codes again must be in capital letters. Your journey to genuine healing begins here. And Optimal Carnivore. Organ meats, as you know, are some of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. But they can be hard to source sometimes and difficult to make tasty. So the founders at Optimal Carnivore are well aware of this. This is one reason they decided to take the hassle and guesswork out of it for you. They started sourcing high-quality organ meats from New Zealand. Why New Zealand? Because it is one of the most pristine places on earth with high standards. They source 100% grass-fed organ meats from there, freeze-dry the organs, and encapsulate them into convenient bovine gelatin capsules. These products are 100% grass-fed and grass-finished, and free of hormones, pesticides, antibiotics, and GMOs. And since our ancestors would have eaten the whole animal nose to tail, Optimal Carnivore has a unique blend of 9 different organs for their grass-fed organ complex. It is a powerful combination, including beef liver, brain, thymus, heart, kidney, spleen, pancreas, lung, and gallbladder. It is a real nose-to-tail solution. It's great for people on the go or those who are still trying to develop an appreciation for organ meats. And Optimal Carnivore has a lot of different products. They've got Brain Nourish, their grass-fed organ complex that I already mentioned, their grass-fed bone marrow and grass-fed liver, among others. So go now to amazon.com/optimalcarnivore and use the code Weston10 to save 10% on all products. Again, that's amazon.com/optimalcarnivore and the code Weston10 for 10% off all products. This is Hilda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Can you remind me what those 2 modalities were that you said you
Yes.
took on?
So the functional nutritional counseling or consulting, and that's where you're trained to get to the root cause of whatever somebody's dealing with. So you're seeking the roots so that you can find solutions that will address those root causes.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes that has to do with some sort of a detoxification of the body. Not always, but
Right.
pretty much most of the time. One of my mentors, Dr. Group, says that the cause of all disease is a toxic external environment and a toxic internal environment.
Mm.
And when we identify those, we can begin to release those toxins. And then the second certification is the shamanic energy healing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so that's a release of toxic energy, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I've heard of Dr. Group.
Yes, you probably have. Yeah.
Where is he located?
He is in Texas, actually. He's in
Okay.
Texas. He works with, there's a group out there now called Healing for the Ages,
Mm-hmm.
and they are very focused on, functional healing. Basically, they're all doctors, of some sort.
Well, what I like is that you took your own healing journey and thought, okay, you made your body more open to bioavailable nutrients. And then you thought, let me do the same thing for the land, right?
Yes.
Because I guess you realize we have to put the best stuff in us without a lot of artificial inputs, and we're trying to avoid the toxins. And that's what you do here at Honey's Harvest.
Absolutely. 100%.
Tell me more about this. How many acres is it? And do you have animals? Tell me
Yes.
a little bit about the farm.
Okay, great. So we have about 160 acres. And it was originally a tobacco farm owned by the Fowler family, who purchased it from the Bowen family. And as we learned, and I'm 13th generation from this region, not from this farm, but from
Okay.
this area.
Uh-huh.
And so many of my ancestors and relatives were or are farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And as conventional farming came in and kind of took over the industry, and the tobacco was so big around here, they were trained and taught to farm with chemicals. And so what we know now is that not only are the chemicals carcinogenic, and that I've lost a good number of my family members to cancer, including Mr. Fowler. While I don't know that we were directly related, but a lot of us down here are related. But he also passed of cancer. And so did the gentleman who lived as a crow flies that way, who was the dust cropper or crop duster.
Oh my gosh.
So they said the planes would fly over what is now Honey's Harvest Farm and just dust the crops with one farmer called Agent Orange. So,
oh my gosh. But they were just doing what they thought was best at the time. Like, let's get rid of the pests
absolutely.
so we can have more productivity here on the farm. But sometimes we don't always know about the fallout until later, right?
Absolutely. 100%. So they did the best they could. And they didn't want to do any harm, because farmers are some of the best stewards of the land.
They are.
And they do what they're taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so sadly. So that was the kind of where the farm started, was in tobacco. Well, at least with this era of, I would say, from the 1940s, 50s on. And then we transitioned to permaculture and regenerative ag. And so the basis is the living soil for us. So everything that we grow at the farm is in living soil. So we really cultivate the wildlife from in the soil. We have created some ponds and shallow water, like wildlife refuge areas for the wildlife to come in. So we bring in lots of waterfowl. We bring in frogs, amphibians. We bring in tons of birds, these little birds that are apparently forest. They're called FIDs, forest interior dwelling birds, that make the long trip from South America to here and back every year.
And when you say you bring in, do you mean you actually like purchase them and have them come, or do you put up a little welcome sign?
I think the ecosystem is the welcome sign.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We planted 50,000 trees on the farm in some of the old fields, and we dedicated ourselves to allowing the topsoil to regenerate itself. And these trees are through a program with the state of Maryland, through the DNR, that anybody who's willing to plant at least an acre of trees can have access to, and it's free. So we chose plants and trees that have to be native, number one. That's one of the requirements. And number two, we wanted trees that would bear fruits and nuts for generations to come. So the wildlife loves them. So we share with the wildlife, but with 50,000 trees planted, there's plenty for all of us. So we see all these like doves and different types of birds coming in. So we don't go get them. They just come because there's not a lot of habitat left in our area. There's so much development in Anne Arundel County. So we feel, very committed to creating as much of that natural environment as possible. So while we used to have livestock, now we focus on the wild ecosystem and the microorganisms in the living soil. And we partner with farmers in our area who provide those beautiful proteins, those pastured proteins that we love so much and offer in our store.
Do you think your farmer friends in the immediate vicinity think you guys are nuts? I know you were mentioning nuts, but do they think like, oh my gosh, what is this style of farming? Because it's kind of returning to old ways, right? Prior to pesticide usage and all that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely have felt sort of the brunt of jokes. I've heard that we're the brunt of, or maybe even the topic of conversations in some certain circles. And I have also found that as I've just been reelected again to be the chairperson for Anne Arundel County's Agriculture Commission, that people are starting to hear and even speak to it in these group settings. Well, Anna focuses on living soil. What they do at that farm is they create living soil without chemicals. They create healthy soil that grows more. I actually had someone say that at the meeting last month. And somebody else turned that is very much embedded in the system. I know that their livelihood is based upon, I would call it grant monies from Monsanto. And so they are compelled to say certain things in all of these arenas.
What are those certain things? Let's be specific. I'm not to call anyone out, but to help us understand.
Yeah. So I've had multiple conversations with people about this and trying to understand why they say what they say. And I did have one gentleman who works through the University of Maryland tell me that he's literally paid by a Monsanto grant. That's his income. And when I say the things I say, it's threatening his livelihood because we don't do something that they call nutrient management. Such a nice word for how do I manage chemicals on my farm safely? So we don't do that. We don't need that because we focus on living soil, and living soil does not need chemical input. In fact, it would be extraordinarily detrimental.
But why does your farming differently and people supporting that, how does that threaten his livelihood or his grant from Monsanto?
So that particular conversation was about engaging with the University of Maryland in a study where we were going to grow in living soil.
Oh, so you kind of would naturally have an advantage and that would make him look bad and maybe get back to Monsanto and they're like, okay, this isn't working.
He could not even accept us as a participant because we weren't using nutrient management or chemicals.
Oh,
we didn't even qualify to be part of this study that we were willing to do because we were unwilling to use chemical inputs. Chemical inputs are oftentimes salt-based, and when you put that kind of stuff on your soil, you're doing what would happen to us if we got doused in salt all the time.
Yeah.
Or chemicals for that matter. So
kind of dry up.
Got it. And then where's our microbes? So then they create the need to fertilize the soil with synthetic chemicals that the plant now takes up, which are not native or natural to the plant, but it grows a plant, but they're not resilient. So what do we have to do? They have no immune system because it's not nature's nutrients, just like us. So they have to put pesticide and herbicide because the plants don't have a robust immune system. They may look pretty and grow, but they're totally dependent on this synthetic lifestyle, if you will. It's
like a cascade of interventions designed to make us dependent on these chemicals.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%. It's brilliant if you think about it.
Like, I don't know, this is a little side thing that's coming into my mind, but have you ever gone into like a mall? People don't go to malls so much anymore. But, they're like, hey, let us do like a free, experiment on your face to show you what our lotion does. And sometimes there's certain chemicals in there that will make it look brighter on one side than the other. So you think, oh, this is great. This looks less wrinkly. But what they're actually doing is doing something to kind of
manipulate.
Yeah, manipulate and maybe superficially make it look right, but they're not helping us glow from the inside out.
That's a perfect metaphor, an absolutely perfect metaphor. What I have found, though, to answer your original question, is that some farmers are adopting our practices.
Oh.
So we have 2 farmers who come to our market now who are growing in living soil. We have another farmer who said, don't tell anybody, because he's a conventional farmer. I don't want anybody calling me a tree hugger. He said, but this is what I'm doing. So he's using what we would call a biocomplete compost tea.
Uh-huh.
So the essence of living soil is really composting to make that soil alive.
Mm-hmm.
And he's using an extract that these big businesses also sell, because I do believe that they know that the future is coming and they need to be part of that so that they can remain relevant. And so they will sell these bio compost teas. And so this guy is trying to win a contest, and he knows he can't win unless he uses the more natural, holistic approach. So he told me not to ever tell anybody, so I will not reveal the name. But the individual is a fantastic farmer, was trained and learned in the conventional way, and has been inspired by a fellow farmer who keeps beating him at the contest, the statewide contest.
Oh, that's funny.
So
I want to ask you about compost, actually, because I know you don't have as many animals on the farm as you did before. So my question is, don't you need like animal waste to help the produce grow abundantly?
Yes, that is the nitrogen, 100%. So we are so fortunate to be in this area where there are many horse farms, goat farms, sheep farms. So we have access to the nitrogen that we need, which is those manures. And that is your 50% of your compost is that. And then the other half we get from the guys who take the trees down the side of the road and drop wood chips off at our farm for free. So all of it is free. We have to go pick up the manure. So there's a little labor in that, but we're helping them get rid of their manure piles, and we're bringing it over here, and we're adding that carbon and creating this beautiful living soil that's then nourishing the plants, that creates these nutrient dense plants that we then make medicine from and put in the store. And now we all have access. And we also teach people how to do it themselves. So they can be more sustainable.
That's what I was going to say next. You're not just a isolated Honey's Harvest Farm in a bubble. Like, I know you have workshops here and you have a farmer's market occasionally, and you're doing things to kind of get the word out that people can have living soil, but also healthier guts and so forth, right?
100%. Yes, absolutely. So we have markets the first and third Sunday of every month. These are cooperative markets where the local farms come and offer whatever it is that they focus on. And many of those are the proteins, the pasture proteins and the dairy and the cheeses. And we have a lot of wineries and distilleries and breweries, all farm-based. And then bakers and fishermen and oystermen, all from the area. And they come twice a month, first and third Sunday. And then our stores open every weekend. Not 7 days yet. We've been talking about that.
Right. Maybe
we're getting there.
Speaking that into the future.
Exactly. Hear me out there, universe.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now, I know that this all started again with your healing journey. Where are you on that journey now?
Great question. So what I love about, I guess, life itself is that it is a journey, and that we are exposed to things throughout life. And so even though we may heal from chronic illness, we're still going to be exposed to the latest flu, cold virus, whatever. We'll have, acute injuries potentially. As you know, I had one in 2024. So I think the beauty of having gone down this path, and my real inspiration at that time when I was really sick was no one else should ever have to get this sick to realize that there are other options out there that can truly heal us from the inside, and that every person has an inner healer. And so I thought, I started off first at that time offering these services, not myself, but through other people in like these wellness days. And so then, going forward and becoming certified, now offering that to the world is super important, so that they can realize that they have access to all of this. It can be free, literally. So from the food we ingest to the herbal medicines that we can rely on and develop those plant relationships, to that amazing nutrient-dense food that comes from our fellow farmers, that, with that energy healing and really connecting back to the ways of the earth. And one way to connect people that is not so woo-woo is through the soil and through gardening, because gardening is normal, right? So it helps them see. And then once you have that connection, you realize there's so much more to that than just gardening. that we are literally part of nature and that we are an important part of nature. When we breathe out, we breathe carbon dioxide. The plants take that and create their own food. They do photosynthesis. They give us back oxygen. So we have this synergistic relationship. It's just time to reconnect to that and realize that the earth is here for us and we're here for the earth. And so I love the idea of helping people re-realize, because most people know. They do, right? They go to the beach, they put their feet in the sand.
They feel so much better.
Exactly.
And it's not just that they are taking time off their work, it's because they're connecting to nature. And isn't the root of the word human humus, which is like the root of soil, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that fulvic acid, that humic acid.
Yeah.
We can literally take that in too, like ingest it.
Exactly. Which sounds funny, but
Right.
what if the best thing was when we were 3 years old, eating mud and making mud cakes, right? And the parents are like, don't do that. But actually you're like, this is good. The kids know.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but we're going to wrap up now. And I do want to ask you, Anna, the question I love to pose at the end. If the listener could just do one thing to improve their health, knowing that there are many modalities out there, if they could just do one thing, what would you recommend that they do?
I think I would probably recommend that they truly, authentically know and believe that they have the ability to heal. That belief will just take you in many directions to find your true formula.
Beautiful words to end on. On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thank you so much, Anna. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Our guest today was Anna Chaney. Visit her website, honeysharvest.com, for more information. And you can find me at holistichilda.com. I am Hilda Labrada Gore, the host and producer of this podcast, on behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation. And for the transcript for today's episode, visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And now for a recent review from Apple Podcasts. Redeem1230 had this to say: as I aged, I was finding an erosion of my health and assumed it was just the way life would be as I aged. This podcast helped me understand that it doesn't have to be that way. The tide has turned, and as I continue to learn and improve my diet, my health is improving. Redeem 1230, this is great to hear. We love hearing stories like this. This is a blessing for you, and we are so happy that you shared it with the world. You too can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Just go to ratings and reviews, give us as many stars as you'd like, and tell us what a difference the Wise Traditions lifestyle has made for you. Or write us an email, and we'll possibly include your story in an upcoming Wise Traditions journal. Write us at info@westonaprice.org and put letter to the editor in the subject line. Again, these stories mean a lot to us, but they also encourage the world that it's never too late to get healthy. And thank you so much for listening, my friend. Stay well, and remember to keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westonaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.